I remember a little while ago I said that IVE were not built to make an album. It was one of my big criticisms of them because they've had 3 single albums and back-to-back-to-back comebacks, and it was really starting to worry me because I was sitting there like, yes, at one point I didn't believe that IVE could put together an 11 to 12 song long full-length album because 1, I don't have confidence in most K-pop groups to do that, and 2, just because they hadn't even given us a mini album yet. So why would I think that they would give us a full-length album so soon in their career? Albums are way more intricate than people realize. They are long bodies of work that reflect the artist and maybe the stories they're trying to tell and the sound they want to display to their audience. But when an album reaches 11 to 12 songs long, you have to keep your audience engaged. It is really difficult, especially in the social media, TikTok music age that we live in, to sit down and listen to an album for 30 to 40 minutes of our day and get into those deep cuts and really enjoy them, because it feels like music nowadays, especially in K-pop, is marketed towards catchy songs that are replayable, can be played on the radio. During high school, I had this note section in my phone, and this is when I kind of really started to fall in love with music as an art form, and every single note I would have in that folder was a different album from a different artist, and I would rank every song from 1 to 10, and I did that for over 700 albums in less than 2 years. That was before I even touched K-pop. After I got into K-pop, I added about 150 more to that list. I am a sucker for albums that go on for 10 to 11 songs that have great deep cuts on them, that really tell a story or get you immersed in the artist, because an album is there to display the artist's full talents, whether it be through production, whether it be through vocals. And a big issue in K-pop is that a lot of idols do not have a ton of control over their music. There are self-made groups that do a lot of producing and writing. BTS and 17 are 2 of them. But there's a lot of groups out there where a lot of the idols in those groups don't even touch the production or the lyricism and don't really have a say in which direction their music goes. And when I made that video about albums a couple of weeks ago, albums were still on the downturn. We hadn't really gotten a ton of announcements of full-length albums. I know Le Sserafim, right after that video came out, literally like the day after the video came out, announced that they were coming back with a full album. I know New Jeans, it's a rumor that they're coming out with a mini album sometime in July. Obviously, I've dropped an album, which we're talking about today. This is all for me to say that building an album is impressive, especially if you can make a good album. And I had some serious doubts in IVE because they hadn't really participated in a ton of production or lyricism so far, and I didn't even really trust the company all that much to give them a full-length album. But they took me and a lot of other people surprised with this release, both in the fact that it is a full-length album and the quality of it. Now I want to point out a trend I see with a lot of people's reactions to this album, and that is, wow, it's actually good. I want to underline the word actually there. Okay. Thank you. When people use actually in that connotation, they are referring to the fact that they're surprised that that person or that group or whatever did that thing. I saw a lot of people online doubting this album coming up, saying it was going to be bad, it was going to be full of filler, and to be honest with you, you asked me a couple months ago, I would probably agree with them. IVE's B-sides just haven't been good on all of their single albums they've come out with, whether it be Royal or My Satisfaction. It's literally pronounced My Satisfaction, not My Satisfaction. God, what am I doing? It's perfectly okay if you like those songs. I see people who say that's their favorite songs they've put out, but for me, a lot of those come off as filler. And I think this new album release has caught a good amount of people who dislike IVE by surprise because it's pretty good. So in this video, I want to cover this album a little bit and give my honest thoughts and reviews on it. I reacted to this on my Patreon. I would highly recommend going and checking out my Patreon. I do full-length album reactions on there. And before we get into the video, a quick word from today's sponsor. Ever see your favorite idol wearing some clothing and you're just like, wow, they look really good. I wish I could wear something like that. And then you go check the price and you're taken aback by how expensive it is. Well, let me introduce you to Fashion Chingu. Fashion Chingu is an online store that recreates K-pop and K-drama fashion so you can wear some of your favorite looks from your favorite idols on a budget. They offer a variety of collections of clothing like Twice, Blackpink, Monsta X, ATEEZ, IU. They got TXT. On top of that, for orders over $60, you get free shipping, and it ships nearly worldwide. Also, their website is so clean and easy to get around. If you're interested, head to the link in my description. Thank you Fashion Chingu for sponsoring this video. So before we go in any deeper, I do want to get my 2 complaints with this album out of the way, because I have 2 complaints and they're relatively small. First is the album name and the album art. I know this is kind of small to some people, but I do like a good album name and good album art. And IVE as your first album name, it just doesn't sound very good to me, and the album art is very boring. Second is that this album is not cohesive. There is not a lot here conceptually that connects within one another. A lot of these B-sides sound like songs they thought sounded good and do sound good, but they just threw them on the album randomly instead of making them stick together. Think of an album as a really good sandwich. Together, you see a sandwich as one singular thing, right? Like, you don't say, I'm eating the bread, cheese, meat, and lettuce. You say, I'm eating this sandwich. A really great cohesive album is like a sandwich. However, you can have a great album and it not be cohesive. You can have a really nice slice of bread, a perfectly cut slice of meat, great cheese, great lettuce, but they're not together. I know that's kind of a weird explanation, but that's what this album feels like to me. However, that's really it for the negatives I have with this album. Let's start getting into the positives. First, I want to point out that a lot of the members helped write portions of this album and songs. Yoojin herself wrote Heroine. Wonyoung herself wrote Mine and Shine With Me. Ray and Gal write the rap sections on this album, and I think they redeemed themselves this time around. I criticized them for their poor writing on Kitsch. I thought they tried to cram English into it. I didn't think it sounded good. I still think that now, but Hypnosis single-handedly redeemed them. That was actually a good rap verse. I like all the different genres they touch in this album as well. Blue Blood is this haunting trap pop track that's very intimidating. I Am is one of the most pop songs you will ever hear in your entire life. Lips is borderline beach house music. Heroine sounds like if I've made a Red Velvet song. Mine sounds like a mid-2010s Taylor Swift song. Hypnosis is just like the it song on this album. This song is fantastic. I have a special segment for this song in a little bit we'll talk about. Not Your Girl is literally, I said this in my reaction on Patreon, it literally is variety show music. You know, like music you would put like on a sequence of idols running on a beach in their like variety show, and it's like one of those pretty edits and it cuts them doing something, and like I feel like this is the music that would play over that edit. Let's go! Next page is this emotional pop rock song with a guitar that needs to be louder, by the way. Why is it so quiet? It sounds so good. Cherish sounds like something Ariana Grande would stick on one of her albums. And then Shine With Me is just a pure power ballad. I'm actually quite impressed with the mix of genres and sounds they go with here. Another thing I'm really impressed with is the vocals. Specifically Liz, Wonyoung, and Liso. Not that the other members don't sound good, they very much do, but Liz plays a very important role on a lot of the really great bridges on a lot of these songs. A lot of these B-sides got really good bridges. I was very impressed by the tonality and the way that Liso and Wonyoung sung parts of a lot of these songs. I think vocally they surprised me a little bit. Not that I've necessarily doubted them in the past as vocalists, but I do think they are pretty average vocalists. And that's not me trying to be mean to them. I love both of them, but they're not powerhouse vocalists. They are very average, like verse filler kind of vocalists, and they popped off on some of these songs. The pacing in the length of this album is also very good. I don't think that this album or the songs in this album drag out too long. And look, this album in general had a lot of doubts going in because of the pre-release track, Kitsch, which I actually think is one of the worser B-sides here. I think my 3 least favorite B-sides that are probably skips for me are Shine With Me, Cherish, and Kitsch. Like, I just don't love them. And I already have a video talking about Kitsch. I do think it's a bit overhated. I don't think it's nearly as bad as people were saying it was, but I will admit that compared to the rest of these B-sides, Kitsch is pretty forgettable. I think a lot of people have hated IVE in the past by how posh they feel as a group, right? They feel luxurious. A lot of their songs are very shiny and glitzy, but I kind of like how on some of these tracks lyrically and again visually, like I Am, they really do just play into that. Like, they don't really care about the outside noise and what people think about them. Like, yeah, bro, they're gonna live their life the way they want it. And I really like how on I Am, they play into that message quite strongly, even if I am not the biggest fan of how that music video is shot. Wonyoung doing a flip out of the plane is fucking hilarious every single time. But I feel like having 3 different sets of black and white outfits in one music video is a bit much. Like, there's like 7 colors total in that whole music video. It's just a bit boring for me personally. But I do think all the members do a very good job with this concept, and I think vocally they delivered on this album. I think they smashed a good amount of doubts that both me and other people had. Now, I want to highlight one song in particular because I really love Hypnosis, because it kind of sums up a lot of the things that I like about this album into kind of one song, which is solid production for the most part. That opening section is a bit weird, actually good lyricism, great vocals, and a really good rap section. A lot of the songs on this album follow this trend. They obviously switch it up from this, but the one big flaw this song has is that it is 2.5 minutes long. It's not even 2.5 minutes, it's sub 2.5 minutes long. That is way too short. But the thing I love the most about this song is how the members sing the song, how Wonyoung sounds on the song. I think cadence and tonality is the thing that I have really learned over me listening to K-pop is really important to me enjoying a song. How am I supposed to get the vibe from a song like Scream by Dreamcatcher if you're not going to sing the song with an intensity? And I think the girls sing this song perfectly. If you were there for my reaction, dude, I loved how they sung this song. I kept talking about it. I think Wonyoung's best vocal tonality on this entire album is this very mesmerizing, siren-esque way she sings the chorus. 사랑이라는 느낌은 섬찟 심장이 막 터질 듯 펌핑 보기 좋게 비켜내 그치 머릿속에 띵해진 느낌 And then that bridge is fantastic. They do stick a bridge on this song. It's relatively short. It also sounds very different from the rest of the song, but Liz sounds fantastic on it, and I love how it sounds. I really love how the bass bounces on the lyrics, so it's got this really nice flow to it. It sucks that it's short, but for me, it is one of my favorite B-sides that has come out this year. It's probably easily in my top 5. I loved it as soon as I listened to it. I think a lot of people were surprised by this album from IVE because a lot of people doubted their ability to even put together a 11 to 12 song long album. I know I wasn't the only one at one point who doubted them to do so, or more notably the company to do so, because I know the girls can sing, I just didn't know if the company wanted to put them on a 11 song long track. And I think there's a good amount of little things that factor into that as well, like IVE got into a lip syncing scandal. Earlier this year I talked about it in my lip syncing video about this Strawberry Moon cover they did, and they lip synced the entire thing. It was very obvious, and I don't hate IVE or Wonyoung for doing it because, idols lip sync all the time, especially in the 4th generation. Should we be complacent about it? Not really, but I'm not someone that it's a deal breaker for me. But after that scandal, a lot of people were doubting Leeso and Wonyoung's ability to sing. There was a lot of hate online aimed towards them. But I think that Wonyoung is one of the best vocalists on this album. I think she's up there with Liz and Yujin on the way she sings some of these songs. I really love her cadence, and I think all the members really do a good job on this album at vocally displaying themselves. Now, Are they, to me, one of the more talented rookie groups when it comes to vocals? Still really no. I still think a group like Le Sserafim or a group like NMIXX are better than them, but I don't really think that matters. I think, comparing groups like that is stupid. As long as IVE makes good music, it doesn't matter to me that they don't have a bunch of powerhouse vocalists as long as they sound good on the tracks. And trust me, they sound really good on a lot of these tracks. I am actually really happy that IVE proved me and a lot of other people wrong. I'm not sitting here sad that IVE dropped an actual good album. I'm not preying on IVE's downfall, sitting here with a clenched fist like, darn you, IVE, how dare you prove me wrong. I'll own up to when I said something in the past that was wrong, and I think my assumption that they couldn't make a full-length album was a rash one, and something that they've obviously proved me wrong since. Is it weird to say that I'm a little proud of them? I'm kind of proud of them. It's also somewhat ironic to me that they're the first group out of all these rookie groups to drop a full-length album, when they were dropping single albums for their entire career thus far. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about this album down below. I personally really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's my album of the year because The Village of Perception Chapter 3 by Billy is just that good, but right now for me, it's a pretty strong second. I really enjoy this. Now all we can do is sit back and hope that Starship gives them mini albums from now on and not singles or EPs anymore. Good on you, IVE, for proving me and a lot of other K-pop fans wrong.